Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Some breaking news just now, just a few moments ago, in a very anticipated Friday news dump. A source familiar with the matter tells NBC News the president just called former confidant Roger Stone to tell him his sentence will be commuted, sparing him jail time. Earlier today, a federal appeals court denied Stone's emergency request to delay the start of his 40-month sentence for lying to Congress, obstruction, and witness tampering. In an interview Thursday, he said he preferred a commutation to a pardon to give, quote, an opportunity to clear my name. You might remember that at Stone's trial last year, former Trump's chief strategist Steve Bannon called him an access point to WikiLeaks before the site's publication of Hillary Clinton's hacked emails. Stone, at one point a close advisor to businessman Donald Trump, was set to surrender begin his prison sentence on Tuesday. Now, Roger Stone, if he's anything, he's a convicted felon. He's also a lifelong Republican henchman. I mean, this is a guy who is in many ways the face of the Republican Party. He's got a tattoo of Richard Nixon on his back. Roger Stone isn't some aberrant Trump-era figure. He has been entwined in the Republican Party for decades. And that shows you what the Republican Party that we currently have is all about. It is the party of Roger Stone and Donald Trump. You know, the United States has the worst coronavirus response in the world right now. We have the most cases, over 3 million, and the most deaths, more than 130,000. And that's not just because we currently have one of the worst presidents in our country's history who doesn't seem to care about containing the virus, but also because we have one of the worst political parties in power in the entire democratic world. The Republican Party, the party of Roger Stone and Donald Trump, by a bunch of metrics, is off on an island all its own. It is further right than the vast majority of conservative parties in Western Europe and Canada. It is further right than parties considered to be extreme in Europe. For example, for years, it has been the lone major conservative party across the democratic world to deny the science of climate change. But now, on this evening in which the president has pardoned his criminal associate, now all of the Republican Party's most dangerous pathologies have come to fruition with Donald Trump amidst this pandemic. Because it's not just Donald Trump. It is a mistake to put it solely on Donald Trump. Look at what the entire party from top to bottom is doing during this crisis. Now, to be clear, it is a very difficult problem. We say that every night. It's a difficult governing problem for everyone. And there have been many Democratic officials who have made truly massive mistakes. Mayor Bill de Blasio, a Democrat, waited too long to close down New York City, and it cost lives. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo made a fatefully terrible decision to send coronavirus patients to nursing homes. And there have been Republicans who've done a pretty good job. Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine. But on the whole, as an entity, the Republican Party, the party of Roger Stone and Donald Trump, is an irredeemable disaster. Look at their governors. In Arizona, Governor Doug Ducey originally blocked local officials from mandating masks. He was accused of manipulating the data in his state to reopen the state too quickly, and now Arizona has one of the worst outbreaks in the country. The governor is getting called out in the front page of the local newspaper for his lack of action. In Texas, Governor Greg Abbott did much of the same thing. He said local officials could not punish people for not wearing masks, and he rushed to reopen. And now Texas is dealing with a massive outbreak, and Governor Abbott is taking the heat. In Mississippi, Governor Tate Reeves has been reluctant to put a statewide mask ordinance in place, and now his state is dealing with a mess. Their health system is overburdened, and Governor Reeves finally just ordered a mask mandate after about a sixth of the state's legislators contracted the virus because the heavily Republican body insisted on working in person at the Capitol without masks in that kind of proximity. That's just a small portion of what's going on in states run by Republicans. And while the country is in the midst of a once-in-a-century calamity, affecting everything from public health, the economy, to the social fabric of the nation, the Republican senators representing their constituents in Washington are pretending like they're full-time tweeters, or right-wing talk radio hosts, or some dude somewhere with a cool new podcast, or just actively working to make life harder for people and make things easier for the virus. In the state of Missouri, where they set a record for new cases just now and just had a huge coronavirus outbreak at a summer camp, you may wonder what the new young senator from that state who is a rising star in the party is up to amidst this once-in-a-century calamity. I'll tell you, he's fighting with the NBA, sending a strongly worded letter to Commissioner Adam Silver about how they're kowtowing to China with new rules about player jerseys. Senator Josh Hawley also took the time today to blow up an ESPN reporter who sent him a rude email in response to that letter. In Texas, a state that has hit a record with coronavirus deaths, topping 3,000. Texas Senator Ted Cruz, the darling of the conservative movement who wants to be president someday, he's busy hosting his own podcast, tweeting about Goya Foods, and fighting with a Harvard law professor on Twitter because he didn't like the way he talked about White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany. All the while, his constituents